Now it's time to bring back my co-host Jeff, along with our next guest, our very good friend, Wes Wood. Wes is founder and president of Wood Financial Services, a retirement income store located just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Wes, thanks for being back with us here on The Income Generation.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Dave. Glad to be here.
So, of course, we're talking today about annuities, and I think maybe we've done one other time over 3 years a show on annuities. And annuities are truly what I call the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? There's the good, the bad. There's people for whom they're great. There's people for whom they're terrible investments. So can you give us some examples in your own experience of where maybe an annuity actually made sense for a particular client?
Sure. Yeah, and you're right. I think as far as in the investment industry, probably annuities are the most confusing and sometimes some of the most misrepresented products out there. But in cases where they make sense and fit for a client, I think that can be a valuable tool for certain folks. A good example is somebody that really does have a need for income, whether it's now or perhaps a few years into the future. I had a client just the other day that came in and he's looking to retire this next year. And we did an analysis of how much income he would need to have. And after looking at his Social Security income that he's going to have coming in, we noticed that there's about a gap of roughly $10,000 a year that need to be made up from other sources. So, and he's a conservative investor. He doesn't want to take on much of any risk whatsoever. And he happened to have quite a bit of money in his 401k. And we're going to go ahead and roll a lot of that money over and put about $200,000 of that into an annuity that has what's called an income guarantee. And if you're familiar with an income guarantee or not, the purpose of that income guarantee is to provide a guaranteed income stream for the client. In this situation, it just happened to be that we could put about $200,000 into this particular annuity and guarantee him an income stream of $10,000 a year for him and his spouse. So I think in that type of situation, when there is a need for income and looking for more conservative investments, an annuity can be a right fit. Not a right fit for everybody, but definitely for this gentleman.
Yeah, in a case where he doesn't have to worry about stock dividends getting cut or any bond defaults or anything, he just knows he's going to get it every month when he retires, just like Social Security benefits, essentially. Jeff?
No, that's Wes is spot on. It depends on what the situation is and what somebody's needs are. And everybody's situation is different, but annuities are grotesquely misrepresented. And so you have to work with an advisor like Wes who understands all the intricacies and how to marry the benefits of an annuity to a client's situation. So if you're wondering as a viewer or listener, the lesson that Wes has illustrated here, Westwood has illustrated, is a good one. And so you've got to find an advisor that can marry the goals that you have to the products, not the product first. Goals and objectives come first, product second. And unfortunately, because of the misrepresentations that are out there, advisors forget that. Don't they, Wes?
It can happen all too often. And again, it's not saying that there's bad advisors out there. It could be just simply that or there may be some bad advisors out there that happen to use annuities when it's not the right fit. I see it over and over again. I've had thousands of meetings with clients and prospective clients, and I see it over and over again where maybe a particular annuity was sold to them and they ended up putting perhaps way too much of their money into this annuity. I reviewed one recently, and it was somebody that had a variable annuity, and they really did not have a need for income. They were in a really good spot financially.
And Wes, unfortunately, we need to take a commercial break. We've got our sponsors chomping at the bit to get on the air. We take a quick break, but we'll be back in a moment, and I want you to tell that story. You stay with us. We have much more from Wes Wood coming up in just a moment. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Income Generation. I'm here with co-host Jeff Small, along with our good friend Wes Wood, founder and president of Wood Financial Group. So Wes, I cut you off there right before the break, but you were talking about a client that had come in with an annuity that they had from another advisor. So I think I know where you were going, and I think that's an example of of something that our viewers need to be aware of. So continue along with that story. I'd like to hear it myself.
Yeah, you got it. Well, this person came in and we were reviewing their portfolio for them, just determining what their goals and their financial objectives are. And they have definitely been oversold an annuity, and it was not, in my opinion, the right fit for their portfolio. And the reason why is because they really did not have a need for income. They're financially in great shape. And they were sold this variable annuity, and we looked it over, and they had put over $500,000 into this portfolio with a variable annuity and this insurance contract, and very little outside of it. But we did the analysis, and they ended up paying about 3.5% fees per year on this variable annuity. And that probably equates to as much as $15,000 plus of unnecessary fees. And they've held this thing for literally 10 years. So if you do the simple math, they could have paid nearly $150,000 in unnecessary fees for a product that they just simply did not need, because perhaps the financial advisor, unfortunately, just didn't listen to the client and didn't put their goals in mind when they presented this product to fund their account.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, brokers' commissions are getting squeezed these days. So whether, brokers are using variable annuities to boost their commissions, or in the cases a lot of our viewers and listeners probably don't even know is not in the variable annuity case, but there's other situations where advisors are literally only licensed to sell annuities. So they put a majority of their money, their prospective clients' money in annuities simply because that's the only tool they can offer. They're not licensed as an investment advisor as you are, Wes. So I think that's something our viewers and listeners need to be aware of, and a good question they need to ask when they're interviewing an advisor is, what licenses do you have? What can you offer? Jeff?
Yeah, the experience that Wes shared is on a broader scale from a consumer land. There's about $1.5 trillion in variable annuities, and nobody understands that owns these variable annuity products what they're being charged. And Wes found was prototypical. The average charge is around 3.5%. I've seen it go over 5%, Dave, with some of these companies. And that's a very scary proposition over time. It's what we call a parasitic load. And so if you own a variable annuity, you want to contact an advisor that can help you understand how that works and functions and how it's going to correlate to your objectives. Yeah.
So Wes, you talked about some examples of where annuities can fit. Give me an example. You gave us one example. Give me another example of where perhaps annuities may not be a fit, where you've sat with somebody and said, just an annuity makes no sense for this person in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, well, in some cases it's just because they're way too young. They're still in the growth phase of life. They're in the accumulation phase. They've not quite transitioned or needing to transition into the income phase of life. And I've seen even younger folks in their 20s and 30s that have been sold an annuity, and quite frankly, they've not crossed that bridge quite yet to where they really need to focus more on interest and dividends, and they still probably need to focus on growth. Because odds are over the long term, since they're more in the accumulation phase of life, they're putting money into their portfolios. They're probably not even going to start taking any money out of these portfolios or have a need for it for another 20 to 25 years. A very conservative investment vehicle like an annuity probably isn't the best fit. And I've seen it before. I actually have another broker just right down the road from me. And like you had mentioned, he's life insurance licensed only, meaning that the only type of product that he's ever going to be able to sell to his clients are fixed rate types of annuities. And so anybody that comes through the office, I can almost tell you exactly what type of product he's going to position and sell to his clients. And I've seen it over and over again where folks that are younger, in a lot of cases, they just don't really have the need for that because they've not quite needed to make the shift from the growth to the income yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry,
Dave. We have 45 seconds left, Jeff. Go ahead.
So what Wes is saying is you want to be careful of the advisors who are product centric, where they have a one-size-fits-all answer to your situation, whether you're a viewer or a listener, and that is they're always focusing on a product. That is the wrong kind of advisor to work with. You want to work with an advisor who's a fiduciary, who has the universe of options to create income for you. Annuities could potentially be one of those options. However, if you don't want to work with a one-dimensional advisor who is only pushing products, that's what you want to stay away from.
Yeah, and the other time I find, and Wes, you probably find this too, but to wrap up, that where annuities don't make any sense is if someone's number one goal is to leave a huge legacy. if they don't need the income, their number one goal is to leave a huge legacy, then annuities probably aren't the best tool there either. So, Wes, thanks so much. We appreciate you, as usual, being on the show. All right, you stay with us. We have more to come right here on the Income Generation. We'll be right back.